Well, congratulations. I'm sure that was a really hard-fought point, but what was it like to play in today?
Yeah, probably how it looked. We always knew it was going to be a difficult game coming here. They come off the back of a really good result away at Palace, and we was on the other hand on the end of a really disappointing result. So we wanted to show a reaction, and I think we showed that. Obviously, going a goal down, then getting back into the game, then nearly even scoring at the end. So, I was proud of the team tonight, the way they fought, the way they run, and got a deserved point, I think.
Is that the most pleasing thing? The fact, of course, you went a goal down, but it was the reaction to going the goal down and then getting that all-important equaliser.
Yeah, and that's got to be in the Premier League. You can't be too disheartened when you go 1-0 down. There's still a lot of time to play, and we have to believe, and we have that belief. And I think we could see that, and get the goal from a set piece, which are really important for us. Songu got his first goal, so deserves it so much. So I'm really, really happy for him.
I can see there's a smile on your face. You got your first goal for the club, and it was a really important one as well. What were your feelings when you saw that ball going into the back of the net?
Yes, the feeling is amazing. But we played a good game with the team, all fight for all. And yes, I'm happy to score my first goal in the Premier League, and this.
There was a little bit of change as well, because you were taking all of the corners, but for this one, you had the opportunity. It very nearly went in as well. So in terms of that changes as well, what was sort of the thinking behind that?
I don't know, and obviously Andy Irvine came on. He's a left footer as well. I'm always on to Robbo to get me in the box to try and score from corners, and nearly worked an absolute treat. But I think for me, not many people really pick me up in the air. I'm 5'9" or something like that, so I'm not the tallest. But I always fancy myself in the air and made that run, got the flick. Thought I scored. Was gutted when it didn't go in, but then to see Songu there and put the ball into the back of the net, so delighted.
And just a word on his performance today as well.
No, he's been, I'm sure it's been frustrating for him. He wants to play more, but, in training every single day, he comes in with a smile on his face. His English is getting better, as you just heard then. And he's shown the last two games, his quality. He's still young. He's coming to, a new country, new teammates, new league. So for me, for the team, it's good to support him, put our arm around him, help him when he needs to, and he just shows how confident he is and his quality on the pitch. So really happy for him, and I think this is for him as well, no?
Yeah, final word from you. Just how important was that point for West Ham?
Yes, it's a very good point, important point for the team, for the championship. And yeah, we go to fight. I want to play. I want to give my best for the fans, for the club, for the coach, for my teammate, and I want to continue like that.
Well, you are the player of the match, Jared. Please do the honours.
Congratulations, brother. Thank you. Well deserved.
Diogo, it's a point. How do you feel after that performance?
Obviously disappointed. I mean, with 1-0 down with 30 minutes to go, I think we have to control much more the game, especially at Old Trafford. We cannot get as anxious as we got after the goal. Maybe a little bit more sloppy with the ball possession. So obviously disappointed with the draw. We had the game there.
Why do you think that is? Maybe when you did go 1-0 up, that you didn't manage to hold on to that. It's like looking for that consistency, I suppose, that people are asking the questions about.
Exactly. Is that solution that we need to find? I mean, it can be various things. I mean, it shouldn't be like this, because you're fighting 60 minutes to score a goal, and then when it happens, you should keep doing the same things, even more controlling, a bit more longer possession, so we can have more dominance, especially on the rest defense. When we lose the ball, we are in good positions to recover it back. And like I said, especially the goal, the play that goes to the corner that we conceded, I think that's the type of plays that we need to avoid, especially against teams that are good on the counter. And we knew today they were going to be looking for counterattacks and set plays. And like I said, unfortunately, we couldn't hold the result. But in the end, I think we have to look to ourselves. That I think it's more our fault than credit to West Ham.
There was a big positive for you, though. I'm hearing it's your first Premier League goal here at Old Trafford. So what was the feeling when that went in? Because first of all, it was a brilliant touch, but then as well to score it.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. I mean, every time you can have the opportunity to score for a club like this, it's amazing, especially at Trafford End. But in the end, the taste is not the same. I would change that for the 3 points without thinking. But I'm happy to help the team in any way, even if it's with a goal or whatever. But like I said, this type of results is just gives you something to look at. We cannot be winning at home with 30 minutes to go and not controlling the game.
So what's the overall feeling, I suppose, or the message now for the players? Because you've got a couple of games coming up in December. How important are those games to put you in a really good position come January?
I think it's massive. We are in the time of the year where you cannot drop too many points, otherwise the distance to the top will be even higher. And like the season is. It is, I think, the distance are short, but this will get to a time where everybody's going to start spreading each other, and we want to be there. We want to be in the top 4 or top 5, and that's the aim. We have to be there. And today we had a good chance. I think that's why also the disappointment is even bigger.
Thank you very much for your time. Ruben, it's a point, but what did you make of the performance tonight?
I think it was not constant. We had good moments, and we lost. A little bit in the first half and a little bit in the second half after the goal. We lost a little bit the control of the game. We should have closed the game when we scored the first one. The game was in control. We knew it. Let's defend far from the box. Any set pieces can be a problem with the difference of height in the team. We could do it. We could maintain the ball after the first goal. And again, we lost 2 points.
Where do you think it sort of happened from after Manchester United scored the goal to not hold on to that, to let that other goal go in?
It's just losing second balls, and when they kick the ball, Mateus running with the ball, they winning the first ball, and then Bowen making the runs. You can control that kind of game. We should be better with the ball after the first goal. We had a big opportunity with Cunha. We were near the box, but then the crosses were not good. The characteristics of the players sometimes inside the box are not enough to score a goal from that position. So that's it.
The big positive, though, for Manchester United, Diogo Dalot getting his goal when he did, to score that opening goal. I can understand that it feels more frustrating at full time because you come away with a point. But for him to get his first Premier League goal at Old Trafford as well, in the style that he did it, it felt like a striker's finish, really.
Yeah, but it's a goal. We draw. That doesn't matter.
With West Ham's equaliser, it was a substitution change that it made, which meant that Jarrod Bowen was able to get in and around the area. He obviously got the header, which was rebounded away, and then it resulted into the goal. Did it feel like it sort of took the players off guard a little bit?
No, it's not an excuse. The player changed, but we know what to do in every situation. And the game is 83 minutes, and we need to close the game and not suffer a goal.
When you're looking at the next couple of fixtures as well, then, how important is it to be in a good position come the new year?
Everything is important. Every game is important. We need to win the next one.
Thank you very much, Ruben, for your time. So it's an important point for your team. How proud are you of the reaction from your players today?
I think all the game. I think we should be proud of the work of the boys. They work really hard to contain Man United. At the same time, we went for the game. The boys work really hard, so we have to be glad.
What was your feelings when that equaliser went in?
I was happy. I was very, very happy when you see the ball going inside. Very happy because I think we were on top of the game in that moment. We had good momentum on that situations.
We saw that you made some changes, some substitutions before you were able to take that corner. It allowed Jarrod Bowen to be in a space where, of course, he got the header, thought he'd scored, but, of course, on the rebound, you got that equaliser. Were you pleased that was able to be the change and, of course, that resulted in the equaliser?
Yes, of course. And I'm very pleased of the work of Jarrod. We are very happy to have him as a captain. He led by example. He did an amazing game today.
Aaron Wan-Bissaka as well seemed to make some really good clearances. Just a word on his performance tonight.
Good. I think he played good. I think both. Our defense was okay. The goal that we concede comes from a rebound. Nothing to do with the organization, and the covers were there. The hard work was there. I think all the defensive line was very, very, very positive.
What will this point do for West Ham, and just how important is this?
It's important because it's a tough place to come, and we are proud that we achieved something. It could be 3. I felt that we had good momentum. Man United, of course, also had chances, but it doesn't change anything. We are trying to building with the urgency of the results, looking always for a better performance. But what makes is that we'll recover faster. For Brighton, when we have a good result, a good performance, the legs recover faster. So we expect, again, a tough match on Sunday, but with a better recovery.
Is that one of the most important things for you as well, that we went a goal down, but that belief was always there to get something?
Yeah. I thought that all the game, all the performance, but especially on the second half, the way we recovered, the way we played, the way we combine, we create many problems to Man United.
Thank you very much for your time. Good to see you. Thank you.
And so it would finish 1-1. There was some boos at the final whistle at Old Trafford. A missed opportunity for United to go 5th in the table, level on points with Chelsea. As it stands, they are 8th on 22 points right now. As we now welcome in former Manchester United player Phil Jones to the show. Great to have you with us as well, Phil. Let's just start with today's game. Do you feel that that's another missed opportunity for Manchester United?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. Seems to be the same old story, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. I think the game against Everton was very lacklustre, lack of urgency, lack of intent, even down to 10 men, Everton. And then they go and get a good result against Palace. And I think even in the first half against Crystal Palace, they should have been, or could have been 3 or 4-0 down. They were quite lucky. But they got the win, they got the 3 points, and you're hoping that they can build on that again, back at Old Trafford under the lights again. And just didn't quite happen tonight again. I thought for 30 minutes, 35 minutes again was real lack of urgency from United. Didn't move the ball quick enough. West Ham were solid, compact, and there's one thing when you are in a low block, you have to offer a threat on the counter attack, and I thought they did that really well in the first half.
I mean, Phil's right. They should have been behind at Palace. They were not, and they dug that one out. I mean, how Xerxes scored from the angle he did, should never have been. Henderson should never have allowed it. They had the Everton game. They had this one where had they won, they'd have been gone 5th, and we would have sat here and had some harebrained conversation, absolute stupidity about, they're 5th. What does that mean? Level with Chelsea? Are they? No, they're not as good as Chelsea. They're not as good as the bulk of the teams up there. You can't be 1-0 up at home against one of the worst teams in the Premier League and be dominated for the last 20-25 minutes. You can't have that. I'm sorry, but you should be good enough to push on and at the very least, push West Ham back, and they're the side that are hanging on. Not Man United. Not Man United clearing balls off the line, and he brings on Lisandro Martinez with 3 minutes to go, a centre-half. I know he hasn't got much on the bench, but does he not want to go and win the game? Kobe Mino's on the bench. Just strange for me. United are not a very good side. They have a manager at the moment who I think he's a bit like, I said this the other day, he's a bit like Ten Hag in a sense where he'll get enough results at the moment just to keep people away. Just to make sure the questions are not too incisive about his job. But in terms of a match and how they played and how they allowed West Ham back into it, a really poor West Ham side. Yeah. It's quite frankly, it's just not good enough. But it's not a surprise. We've seen it a lot from Man United. We've seen that lack of urgency. We see it when other teams put them under a bit of pressure, they start to panic. And in the end, West Ham may have gone on and won the game. And as I said, this is a side that even Liverpool, who have struggled to get a result against most teams, Liverpool comfortably beat them on their own patch. And I just felt as the second half wore on, it was not a very good performance from Manchester United.
I think that's the thing. It's hard to overstate how poor West Ham are, in truth, especially if you are a team top half of the table or have aspirations of being top half, let alone top 6, coming to your patch. And now I guess in boxing terms, there's a glass jaw to this United side, because let's be honest, up until the West Ham goal, there was only ever one winner in this. As a matter of fact, probably 30 seconds before West Ham scored, Casey turns to me and asks about, can you see West Ham coming back into this? And my answer was absolutely not. And that's me with my West Ham glasses on. Absolutely not. Then all of a sudden, West Ham get the goal, make what you want to the set piece. Again, how Bowen gets so free, why does Bruno Fernandes get sucked so close into the ball and the ball beat them so comfortably. But from then on in, the response came from West Ham in terms of the bulk of possession and the threat to goal. And United just did not seem to have it in them to go on and push on and win this game. And again, they're on their own patch against a team that I feel will be in a relegation battle throughout the rest of the season. There is nothing about this West Ham that's encouraging, yet you come to Old Trafford, pick up a point. I mean, that, again, in terms of United's own aspirations, is disappointingly poor.
Yeah, Phil, what's your diagnosis of Manchester United? They should be winning games like this against teams that aren't doing well, like West Ham, particularly Old Trafford with the fans behind them.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's for me, it's more of the the way they start games, especially at Old Trafford, has been poor. It's been staggered. I remember everyone knows the Old Trafford when the balls are coming in the box and they're sustaining attacks, and it's relentless, it's ruthless, and we're just not seeing that at the minute. We're seeing very few chances or clear-cut chances created, especially in the final third. And teams feel confidence from that, build confidence from that. West Ham did it today. I thought, like you guys said, for as poor as West Ham have been and have been this season, when you're down there, when you're struggling, what you've got to do is fight for every ball, every duel. And I thought they did that really, really well tonight. Yes, you've got to create your own luck and get a bit lucky at times, which they did. But, as you said, even Bowen, once they got it back to 1-1, they had a little chance where it got flashed across the box, and anyone running onto that could have easily finished 2-1 to West Ham.
Are the players not good enough, Phil, or does it come down to the coach?
Look, there's always going to be a question mark over the manager. You're the manager of Man United. There's always going to be question marks. There's always going to be hype around Man United. I always say it's one of the biggest clubs in the world. He's under pressure. On Man United, manager will always be under pressure. Of course, they'll always be looking for more quality in the team. You look at the likes of Mbuemo who's come in, Sesko who's come in, Cunha's. I think Cunha's a terrific signing, and Mbuemo as well. But obviously, you're going to miss Mbuemo, Amad Diallo, and
Mazraoui,
another player to the AFCON. So then there's going to be 3 voids they've got to fill there. So there's going to be a lot of question marks over, personnel in the team. Does he move Bruno Fernandes one higher when Mbuemo goes to the AFCON and plays him as a 10? Does Kobbie come into the 6, who he's not fancied at the minute? I thought they bitterly missed Matthias de Ligt tonight. I thought his leadership skills over the last few games have been vital in certain moments of the game. So, yeah, there's question marks all over the pitch, but that's the beauty of being at Manchester United.
What's the minimum he needs to achieve, Amorim, to stay at United, do you think?
Look, I think they've got to try and get Europa League football again, and as tough as that's going to be and as difficult as that's going to be, looking by the results and maybe the performances of late at the minute, I think anything less than any Europa League action next season is going to be very difficult. You'd like to think with not being in the Europa League this year, you could have had a sustained run in the Cup as well, albeit they got knocked out to Grimsby. So it's tough. It's not easy. It's not easy. If they beat Everton and then you go to Crystal Palace and beat them like they did, and then you play tonight and you win that one, all of a sudden you're looking up, you're thinking, well, there's 3 wins on the bounce. There's a bit more sustainability, a bit more oomph about the team, heading in the right direction. But it's just, like I said, it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And it's a difficult time at Man United at the minute.
Anybody that draws against West Ham at home at the moment is disappointed with the result. There's no getting away with it. I forgot about the Grimsby game. I forgot about that Grimsby game. That was another sort of debate.
They'd like to.
Yeah, and that just add that to the list. And look, when they don't have European football to worry about during the week, that's an extra. And one of the things Amorim has bemoaned as one of the excuses is time to work with his players. But he's getting more time this season to work with his players than most other managers or he's had before. So when the results don't come, your excuses kind of dry up and start falling on deaf ears. Look, I don't know what he has to achieve this year to keep the Wolves from the door, because Sir Jim Ratcliffe came out, 3 months ago, whatever it was, 2 months ago, and said, we're going to give this guy 3 years, ridiculous statement. But that was made by one of the big investors at the football club, 1.25 billion or whatever Ineos have injected into the club, allegedly, you know, in terms of, you know, buying shares and buying players. But I don't know what the end game is for the manager in terms of what the board see as good enough to be sitting down at a board meeting and saying, this is what we've achieved this year, this is how we're moving in the right direction, and this is the way forward. At the moment, it is very stale, very stagnant, very stale, very much the same most weeks. You know, every now and again they have the odd one where they're a bit better, and then they fall back into this sort of mire of mediocrity, which we saw today in the second half. And, you know, Phil's played at Man United, Shaq and I have played against Man United, the teams with the Keanes and all those boys in the 90s and the late 90s. The standards United are setting at the moment are just unacceptable. They're just unacceptable for most elite football clubs. And the manager's going to have to start getting better results. At the end of the day, this is all going to boil down to results. And the results, we saw a graphic there, the results he's had from just over 1 year in charge are not good enough and they're not sustainable. So he's going to be under pressure over the next, I don't know, 2 or 3 months to make sure these results improve, where he can go to Ratcliffe and Barada and Wilcox and others and say, look, we're progressing, this is what we're doing and we're getting better. If it continues the way it is, he can't go with an argument to say they're moving forward, because at the moment, to me, they are stagnating.
But here's the counter to that, kind of given the Ten Hag situation and how they manage that. It's an easy sell, apparently, to this ownership group that have done enough, given the fact that they extended Ten Hag after winning the FA Cup, and we all know how that played out. And then again, if you, at the start of this season, you said what was the minimum for Manchester United, you would say that they have to get into the top 6, have to get into the Europa League and threaten the top 4. And now, while we're talking about, a United on the back of this poor result, I have a feeling that the top 2, maybe the top 3, will distance themselves from the rest of the pack pretty soon. And after that, everything, they're going to be rather congested. And that will, again, provide an argument for Ruben Amorim as to how good they were or how they've improved. Now, to that point, as critical as we have been of Manchester United today, had they beaten 10-man Everton, as they should have, given how long United play with 10 men, had they beaten West Ham at home, as they should have, given how poor West Ham are, all of a sudden we're talking about Manchester United joined third with Villa. And that's how thin these margins are outside of, what I expect to be top 2, top 3. And that may give Amorim enough of an excuse that even if they don't get into Europa League, they miss out by a point, maybe 2. And all of a sudden, again, kind of given the ownership group and Sir Jim Radcliffe and how soft they've been on previous managers, maybe that argument again washes, which in truth it should.
If those results had gone their way, that would have been smoke and mirrors. You know, Villa have won something like 8 in the trot, or something like that, and they got a really good manager. I mean, they've got a good squad. They haven't got the best squad, but they've got a really good manager. They've got a top manager in Unai Emery, right? He's flexible. He has a clear plan. Players know what if you don't do what Unai Emery wants, then you're not in the team. If United finish 7th or 8th, or wherever it is around there, not many people are going to bat an eyelid. I mean, maybe the board will, you know, but I'm just saying from the perspective of people who understand the game, if they were to finish around that 7th or 8th position, or, you know, we'd sit here and say, yeah, I can see that. I can see that, because that's kind of where they are. But my point is, that's not good enough for a club that size and a club that has spent that amount of money and a manager who's been brought in to improve the team. When we talk about improving a team, you talk about Unai Emery at Aston Villa. You talk about, although they had a bad result at Leeds, Enzo Maresca has certainly taken this Chelsea side to another level. Whatever level that's going to be at the end of it remains to be seen. But the way they played against Arsenal, they've shown they can play better football. And there are several managers like that within the league. Ruben Amorim is yet to show, if we're being honest about it, he is yet to show that he's got the ability to take United to another level, the level that they need to be back in amongst the elite. And so that, for me, piles a lot of the pressure onto the manager.
Do you think he is the right man to take United forward, Phil?
Look, results will determine that, as you said just then. It's a results business game. It's a ruthless game. You look at Liverpool at the minute; they're on a really poor, sticky run, and all of a sudden there's shouts and claims that Arne Slot should get the sack after winning the Premier League last year. So, look, results will be determined by that. I think the board have made it clear that they're sticking by him, that he's the right man to take the club forward. They like where they're going. But yeah, results have to change for sure. You know, it's not been good enough. I mean, I remember when I was playing that, you know, post for Sir Alex Ferguson era, we were saying under David Moyes that, you know, after post-match interviews, it was always, you know, we're in transition, we're a transition team right now. We need to regain a little bit of stability back in the club, and it seems to be, you know, spiraling 10 years down the line. We're still in transition, so they need to try and get away from that stigma and try and figure it out. But it's difficult at the minute. It's really difficult, the club. You know, results are hard to come by. Every game you're thinking, can they, can't they? You win one game or you lose one game, you're looking over your shoulder thinking West Ham's a difficult game when it shouldn't be a difficult game. It's tough at the minute.
But that's the interesting thing as well with Phil, because he's obviously been there when Sir Alex was there and afterwards.
I was just going to ask Phil, we've all, you know, Shaq and myself and Phil played the game, right? Have you ever worked with, Phil, or seen a manager who has been less flexible in his system or less flexible in making changes and very stubborn in the way he plays? I would imagine most managers you played under had at least a little bit of flexibility.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about managers. Maybe I would say Louis van Gaal was very rigid, very his way or no way. But he did have the ability to change, and what we did before games, and you know, the day before a game, I remember doing 11v11. It was always about the players and how they felt in the system. And you know, if the centre half stepped in, how did he feel about stepping in? Did you feel vulnerable? Did you feel like you could go and get there? It was always a collective, collaborative decision with the players, and I think the players embraced that. Not sure how much the players have an influence in that today. But yeah, certainly he's very rigid. He's not going to change for no one. That's what he's been brought in to do. So I guess he's looking at it from, well, why would I change? That's what I got brought in to do. That's the system I got brought into play. So I'll try and get the players to see. I mean, I think I said it a few weeks ago. I look at the system they're playing. They've got, if you run through the team quickly, you've got Luke Shaw playing left of a back three when his first position is probably left back. You've got Diogo Dalot at times playing left wing back when he's probably a right back. You've got Bruno Fernandes playing as a 6 when his best position probably is a 10. You've got Amad Diallo playing right wing when he's probably a 7 or 11 in most teams. So yes, he's trying to get the best out of players, but maybe playing these players in probably the second or third best suited position.
So just to go back to the fact,
must be a Dutch thing with the
maybe a Dutch thing
with the stubbornness, because I played under Wim Jansen at Celtic and we lost the first 2 games of the season, and we had this big meeting and we all told him what way we wanted to play, and he listened to everybody. And then he told us how we were going to play. Anyway, but you know, to that point, this is one of the things that surprised me, and I brought this up 2 or 3 months ago or at the start of the season. Phil mentioned Bruno Fernandes' position. When you go out and buy Mbeumo, Sesko and Cunha, certainly Mbeumo and Cunha, who can play a little bit behind and off a striker, and particularly Matheus Cunha, who is a good player, but you have Bruno Fernandes, and I feel that I'm going over the coals here with this one and repeating myself. But when you have a player with Bruno Fernandes' ability in the final third to score great goals, to produce great assists, to produce great crosses and passes, why in God's name are you going and spending the money on players of a similar ilk and then having to push Bruno Fernandes back into a deeper position beside 2 guys, well, one in Ugarte that's not good enough, and another one in Casemiro, who's just been one of the best in the business, but can't really do it anymore to the level that he was once doing it? Why would you push Bruno Fernandes back there and spend that money rather than spending it in that position and keeping Bruno Fernandes further forward? Now, I hear people out there, people who just look at a bit of paper. Bruno Fernandes got the most stats, got the most assists. Bruno Fernandes got the most this. They'll give you an assist stat for anything these days. You only got to look at the ball, give you an assist stat. Right, Bruno Fernandes, it's not even up for debate. He would be much better for Manchester United floating in and around that front line, where he can get the ball in those little spaces and get turned, poke those little balls through, those little delicate balls and clip balls in behind. So it just doesn't make sense from that perspective. So there are players playing out of position. But Ruben Amorim was there in the summer. He had to have been part of those conversations with Wilcox and Barada and others about the type of player that they wanted to bring in. And when you have your skipper playing in a position where he's less effective than he would be if he was 20 yards further up the field, then that's counterproductive to what you want to do.
And when we do go back, though, just to end it here with Phil, and obviously the fact and the point that you did play under Sir Alex Ferguson, he brought you in at Manchester United. You know the distinct before and after. You talked about those early years, it being a transition. So obviously a lot of time's passed since then. How do you explain what's happened to Manchester United since Sir Alex left?
Very difficult again. I mean, we talk about decisions and behind the scenes and on the pitch and players that have been brought in and externally people who've been brought in. I think sometimes in that moment you feel like it's only a little thing, it's only a little decision, it won't make a big difference. But over time, over years, they accumulate into this big scene, this big scenario that's happening at United, and I think we are now seeing maybe the decisions that they probably didn't get right over the last 6 or 7 years. Maybe we're seeing that now, which is why I have some sympathy for the manager. He's only a young coach. He's been brought in from Sporting Lisbon, where he was terrific there as a young manager, won a lot of things. Played a way that and style that he wanted to play, but coming to Man United is a different kettle of fish, and maybe we are seeing the decisions that we didn't get right in the last 6 or 7 years come to the forefront right now. But now we have to make big decisions and get it right, and people have to take ownership of that and make a decision and say, yeah, if it didn't go well, if it's not the right one in a year's, 2 years' time, then I'll hold my hand up and it's my fault. But yeah, it's been an accumulative over 5 or 6 years.
You don't understand. I think people don't understand the influence and the ability to turn the club round, like Sir Alex turned United around. Wenger did it at Arsenal, but maybe this conveyor belt of success that was going to continue was maybe a little pie in the sky. Because why did Sir Alex go to Man United? Because they were a struggling club. They had their success in the 60s or whatever it was, but they'd struggled for many a year. Yeah, there was the odd cup competition, but they were not dominating English football. And Fergie comes in, it took him, did it take him 8 years, something like that, from 86? Came close a couple of times apparently to losing his job. It was backed by the board, and then him and David Gill had a great relationship, signed great players. United was successful. They turned over 2 or 3 teams. They had a great academy, which was around about the same time I was playing, when Beckham came through and Neville came through and Scholes and Butt and Giggs. The chances of that happening again are very slim to have that kind of quality of youngster coming through all at the same time. So the fact that he was able to do what he did for 20 to 25 years, I think shows you how difficult it was before for that club to sustain itself as one of the best teams in England. And since he's left, it has shown how difficult it is for this club, no matter what they've spent, to sustain themselves as one of the best teams in England. So it's a very difficult task indeed.
Old Trafford expected 3 points, but instead, Manchester United were held once again, as West Ham snatched a late equaliser to pile on more frustration for the home fans. Let's break down the key moments from United's 1-1 draw with West Ham. Manchester United controlled large spells of the game but lacked cutting edge. It took until the 58th minute for the breakthrough to arrive, and it did so in scrappy fashion. Casemiro's long-range strike deflected inside the penalty area and fell perfectly for Diogo Dalot, completely unmarked just 10 yards from goal. The fullback took a touch, stayed composed, and calmly slotted the ball past Alphonse Areola to make it 1-0 United. Old Trafford breathed a sigh of relief. United were finally ahead. But that familiar lack of control in the closing stages would come back to haunt them. With 83 minutes on the clock, West Ham won a corner and punished United's poor defending. Jared Bowen flicked the delivery toward goal, forcing Noussair Mazraoui into a desperate goal line clearance. But his effort only pushed the ball straight into the path of Sungautu Magasa. The young midfielder reacted instantly, smashing the ball into an almost empty net to level the match at 1-1, scoring his first ever West Ham goal. Old Trafford fell silent, then the boos arrived at full time. United pressed for a late winner but lacked conviction, while West Ham held firm to take a valuable point in a difficult season. Manchester United will view this as 2 points dropped. Wasteful finishing, shaky defending, and a failure to control the final stages let West Ham back into the game. For the visitors, it's a hugely welcome result. A moment of resilience in what has been a difficult campaign, capped by Magasa's breakthrough goal. Another frustrating night for Manchester United, another restless Old Trafford crowd, and another reminder of how much work still lies ahead. This has been your Sport Lab match recap. Follow for more Premier League breakdowns, goals, and analysis.